Hi everyone, in today's lesson you will learn how to draw bar and line graphs. We'll begin today by looking at bar graphs. A bar graph, also known as a bar chart, is a graphical display of data using bars of different heights. A bar graph must include a title, scaled horizontal and vertical axes, axis labels, rectangular bars of equal width, and equal gaps between the bars, okay? Also, so important when you're drawing charts and graphs, you must always use a ruler, so you do not do it freehand, and you use the lines in your jotter or on your graph paper to make sure that everything is nice and neat. Okay, so let's look at an example. The number of people in a shop was counted each hour. The table below shows this information. Construct a bar graph to represent this information, okay, and I've put down at the bottom the little checklist for us to remember. So I'm going to start by drawing my horizontal and vertical axes, and I'm going to use lines on my jotters and a ruler to make sure that my lines are on the lines of my jotter, okay? So, to figure out how high we must do our vertical axis, you look at the minimum and maximum value of your data. So my minimum is 3, my maximum is 24, which means my vertical line must at least start at 3 and go up to 24. How I've chosen to do this is I've chosen for each box to represent 2, because that means I don't need to draw 24 boxes. So you do what makes sense. If every box represents 2, that means I only need to draw 12 boxes, which is much more sensible than drawing 24 boxes. For my horizontal axis, I'm going to make sure that I leave enough for one box as a gap between the bars and one box for the bars. My heading is number of people in a shop, that's my title. Along the bottom I'm going to put time, and up the side I'm going to put number of people. So that's my axis labels. It tells me what each axis represents. Now I'm going to put in my data up the side. So using the lines of your jotter, you do not write the numbers in the box, you write them on top of the line. I'm starting at 0 and I'm going up in 2s, and you can see how I write this over the lines, all the way up till at least 24. And I'll make it go up to 26 here, just to give a little bit of room at the top. Along the bottom, I'm going to slot in my times in the box that I'm going to use as a bar. So like I said, one box for the gap and one box for the bar. Then I'm going to use my ruler to make sure I draw these at the correct height, okay? So the first one's 16, so I would need to make sure my bar goes up to exactly 16 using a ruler, and then I would fill out the rectangle from there, like so, okay? 3 p.m. should go up to 18, 4 p.m. 24, 5 p.m. is 13, so I need to make sure that lies exactly halfway between the 12 and 14 markings. The same with 5, that should lie exactly between 4 and 6, and 3 should lie exactly between 2 and 4. And that is my bar chart drawn. Moving on to a line graph. A line graph is a graph with points connected by lines to show how something changes in value as time goes by or as something else changes. A line graph must include a title, scaled horizontal and vertical axes, axis labels, a straight line connecting marked points, okay? Important as well that we use a ruler again. So let's look at this example here. The temperature of a wine chiller in degrees Celsius is recorded and shown in the table below. Construct a line graph to represent this information, and I've put our little checklist down there. So again, looking at these numbers, the range isn't too big. Our highest number we have here is 8 and our smallest number is 4. So I could just use one box per number this time. I only have 4 numbers as my range here. Going up the side then, I will make sure that I have one box per number. Starting at 0, write my numbers on the lines and going all the way up till at least 8, okay? And I've got a little bit of room at the top, so I'll stick in 9 as well. I must make sure that I name my axes and give a heading. Temperature in a wine chiller, that's what this information is. Along the side we're going to have temperature, and notice how I've put my units in. It is measured in degrees Celsius. Along the bottom I've got days. Now this time we won't use a box width to represent each day, we'll write it on the line because we're going to have to put our X where the day meets the temperature. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Notice how they're all exactly one box apart, okay? Okay, now starting with marking in X's as my values. So on Monday, the temperature was 4 degrees Celsius, so I must go up at Monday, and where 4 meets Monday exactly on those two lines, I'm going to mark in an X. On Tuesday, where Tuesday meets 5, exactly where the two lines cross, I'm going to mark in an X, and then I'm going to join them up with a ruler, okay? Where Wednesday meets 4.5, that'll be exactly halfway between 4 and 5, I'm going to mark in an X, then I'm going to join them up with a ruler. On Thursday, it is where Thursday meets 6, again joining up with a ruler. Where Friday meets 8, joining up with a ruler. And where Saturday meets 7.5, so that'll be exactly halfway between the 7 and 8 here. Okay, and that is my line graph drawn. We can see how each one is an equal width apart again. In example 3, we've been asked to draw a comparative line graph. So sales in tens of thousands are shown below for 2 toy shops. So what that means is it's not 3 sales in February for Smiths, it's 30,000 because the 3 represents 3 tens of thousands. Construct a comparative line graph to represent this information. Now, when I'm drawing my comparative line graph, I'm going to use red to represent Smiths and green to represent Playall. If you do not have 2 separate colours, you can use a straight line for one and a dotted line for the other one. So just dot along your line rather than connecting it up completely. Start by drawing my axes. Now I must look at my range in both of these. Now the smallest number here I have is 2, the highest number I have is 9. Again, the range isn't too big, so I can just use one box per number for this one. My title is monthly sales of toy shops. Up the side I'll do my sales. Notice in brackets I've wrote in tens of thousands just to make the reader clear about what the 3, 4, 6 and so on stand for. And up the side I'll mark on the line the numbers that I'm using. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and it must go up to at least 9, so I'll pop in 10 there as well. Along the bottom is the months, and again on the line I'm going to write the different months starting at February all the way to July, making sure they are equal width apart, they are one box separated in between. Right, now I'm going to start plotting my points, so I'll start with just Smiths. In February, Smiths was 3. So where February meets 3, I'll draw my X. Where March meets 4, I'll draw my X, and I'll use a red line to join them up. I make sure to put in a key that tells my reader that the red line is Smiths and the green line is Playall. Again, if you don't have 2 different colours, you'll just use a straight line for Smiths, and at Playall you would insert a dashed line or a dotted line to show the reader what that means. Next, it's where April meets 6. Join it up with a ruler. Where May meets 5. Where June meets 8. And where July meets 7.5, so halfway between 7 and 8. Okay, now moving on to my green pen. I'm going to plot Playall. So in February it's where Playall meets 2. In March it's where Playall meets 2 again, and I use my line to join them up. In April it's where Playall meets 4, joining them up. In May it's where May meets 6, joining them up. And in June, where June meets 7.5, that's halfway between the 7 and 8. And in July, where Playall meets 9. Okay, and that is my comparative line graph done.